Subplots are the secret ingredient that can take a novel from good to great. When done right, they add depth and complexity, richness to your story, keeping your readers engaged, not just in your characters, but also in the philosophical stakes of your tale. But what exactly is a subplot? Why are they so essential for elevating your novel? And how can you make sure that yours actually works? Those are the questions I want to explore today. Welcome to another episode of Just in Time Worlds with your host, Marie Mullaney. Writers often struggle with subplots, and honestly, it's easy to see why. One of the biggest challenges is balancing multiple storylines without losing focus or compromising the coherence of your main plot. It's all too easy to get bogged down in subplot details or introduce too many characters, leading to confusion or even diluting the impact of the main narrative. A common mistake is introducing a subplot too early or with too much weight, making readers wonder, wait, is this the main story? If a subplot overshadows the main plot, it can derail the reader's experience instead of enhancing it. And that confusion can ruin the reader's experience. So, one of the key things to keep in mind when crafting a subplot is balance. You don't want the cast of the subplot characters stealing the spotlight. Instead, a subplot should complement and enhance the main narrative, not take it over. And that's exactly why subplots require planning. However, a quick note for my pantser friends. I don't judge your writing process. If you like writing without a plan, that is not a problem at all. But if you are pantsing, it means you don't necessarily know what is the subplot and what is the main plot until after you've written the story. I once had a pantser describe her process to me like this. She gets images of scenes in her head and she writes those scenes. Then she writes more scenes as she gets more inspiration. She doesn't know in what order they are. She just keeps stringing out the scenes until she has a completed story. And then she reviews and edits and shapes it into something cohesive. If that is your process, you are going to need to do some form of structuring later in your editing when you refine and integrate these scenes into a cohesive story. So this video should still help you with that part of the writing process, though it won't help you plan because, well, you don't. But for the rest of this video, I am going to approach subplots from the perspective of someone who does at least a little bit of planning. Not necessarily a hardcore outliner, but a writer who wants to shape their subplot before diving into the writing process. Okay, first, let's talk about the types of subplots. There are several different kinds of subplots, each serving a unique function within a story. The first is character-driven subplots. These focus on deepening the development of a particular character. They're like bottle episodes in a TV show, self-contained, but rich in character exploration. As an example of this, consider Culloden's struggles with leadership and trauma in the Stormlight Archive. While the main story follows the broader war and political intrigue, Culloden's personal arc of overcoming PTSD and self-doubt as he leads Bridge Crew 4 is a powerful character-driven subplot. His growth as a leader and his struggle with trust significantly impact his character development. Just a footnote on character-driven subplots. Romance subplots often, but not always, fit into character-driven subplots. Our second type of subplot is plot-driven subplots. These advance the main story by introducing new conflicts, information, or challenges. However, they're not part of the primary plot structure. If you followed my plot outlining technique, linked in the info card, you'll know I used 9 key tentpoles to plan a story. A plot-driven subplot isn't one of those key tentpoles. It's something that enriches the story's progression. A great example comes from Adrian Tchaikovsky's epic saga, Shadows of the Apt. If you step back and you consider the whole of the series, there is one book that is entirely subplot, in my opinion, obviously, and that is Sea-Watch. In this book, Stenwald Maker ventures into the undersea world, gaining allies who later play a crucial role in the series' climax in the final books. His undersea journey in Sea-Watch serves as a plot-driven subplot within the larger Shadows of the Apt series by introducing new allies and setting up crucial elements for the series' climax without actually being part of the main conflict of the story. And then our third one is thematic subplots. These reinforce the story's philosophical or thematic stakes, weaving in deeper ideas that resonate throughout the narrative. The best example I can think of for this one comes from J.R.R. Tolkien himself. Gollum's tragic descent into this corrupt, mad entity feeds the theme of corruption and of power corrupting that builds throughout the books. His obsession with the One Ring, what does it have in its pockets, mirrors what could happen to Frodo, serving as a cautionary parallel, and thus it is a subplot that underscores the thematic stakes involved in Lord of the Rings by showing what could happen. So, those are my 3 subplot types. What do you think? Did I miss any other types of subplots? Let me know in the comments below. Now, I know that of course you can mix and match these subplots, and many subplots do this, and we'll discuss that shortly. But first, let's talk about structure and planning of a subplot. No matter what type of subplot you're working with, structure is key. Without it, subplots can feel like random side quests instead of meaningful additions. That's where Dan Harmon's Story Circle comes in. It's an excellent tool for making sure your subplot has a satisfying arc. The Story Circle is basically a simplified version of the hero's journey, breaking a story down into 8 essential beats that focus on character. And those beats are: you, a character is in their comfort zone; need, they desire something; go, they enter an unfamiliar situation to get the thing they need; search, they adapt and struggle in the unfamiliar situation; find, they get what they wanted; take, it comes at a cost; return, they go back to where they started, fundamentally changed. So, let's apply this to our 3 types of subplots for some examples, because I do like to teach via example. Okay, character-driven subplot first. Let's say we have a rogue who is fiercely independent but secretly longs for connection. You want to drive a subplot of that rogue learning to connect with people. So, you, the rogue, works alone, avoiding close relationship. Need, they feel a growing loneliness. Go, they end up reluctantly working with a team. Search, they struggle to fit in, making mistakes as they do and ruining some relationships along the way. Find, they form an unexpected bond with a teammate. Take, they risk losing the team's trust due to old habits. Return, they make the active choice to protect their new allies. And change, they realize they do need others, and thus the subplot arc is completed. This subplot, of course, slots into a larger plot of the whole team's storyline, but it tells that character's story. Next, let's take a look at a plot-driven example. Let's say the subplot involves the protagonist's ally discovering a hidden artifact. The ally, is with the protagonist on a mission unrelated to the artifact. Need. They learn of an object that could help the main quest. Go. They set off on a dangerous side journey. Search. They face trials to obtain the artifact. Find. They succeed in retrieving it. Take. The artifact has a dark secret or consequence. Return. They bring the artifact back to the protagonist. Change. The artifact alters the course of the main story, thus affecting the plot. And finally, we have the thematic subplot and its example. In this subplot, we can potentially explore justice in a corrupt world, and such a subplot might look like this. A minor character, believes in justice. Need. They witness injustice they can't ignore. Go. They decide to take action. Search. They struggle against corruption. Find. They achieve a small victory, maybe getting a corrupt judge arrested. Take. But they pay a personal price, maybe their career is ruined. Return. They reconsider their views on justice and how important it is. Change. They either double down with their belief on justice or they become disillusioned, depending on the thematic angle you're looking to illustrate. By mapping your subplots this way, you ensure that they feel intentional and satisfying, rather than appearing to be random diversions. So whether your subplot is focused on character, plot, or theme, using the story circle can help you integrate them meaningfully into your novel. If you would like to check out my subplots in my epic fantasy work of Sangwheel Chronicles, that series is now complete and available in most ebook stores. Chronicles primarily tells the story of Louis and his struggle with the grey morality he has been taught. But a very large subplot is the storyline of Naira, high priestess of the threesome gods, pun totally intended, who follows the dream of her left-hand husband into darkness, fear, and ultimately deeper understanding of her world and her faith. If that sounds interesting to you, check out the books on the link below. And now, back to our scheduled viewing. Of course, the best type of subplot incorporates elements of all three types of plot in a mix and match strategy. And again, since I like to teach by showing, let's explore a more comprehensive example of planning your subplots while mix and matching our three subplot types, and specifically, we'll explore that internally enchanting romantic plot. Let's say our main story is about a rebellion against the tyrannical empire, and our protagonist is the rebellion leader. The romantic subplot, however, involves two side characters. Hello. Do you also want to be in the video? Do you? Come here. Yes. The spy will now be played by my cat Asura. The first character in the subplot is a loyal imperial guard who secretly sympathizes with the rebellion. The second character in the subplot is a spy working for the rebels. But before we get to the subplot, we do have to understand how this relationship is going to fit into the bigger picture of the story. So let's quickly establish the tent poles of the main rebellion storyline. First, the world in the steady state. The empire rules with an iron fist. The, the rebellion exists but is small, fractured, and on the brink of collapse. The protagonist, the rebellion leader, is struggling to keep their cause alive. As our inciting incident, the Empire commits an atrocity. It might massacre a village suspected of harboring rebels. This galvanizes the rebellion and forces the protagonist to take bold action. The rebellion starts to move. The spy is sent on a mission to infiltrate the Imperial stronghold and gather intelligence. Point of no return. The protagonist leads a major attack on Imperial supply lines, officially escalating the conflict to a full-scale war. The Empire tightens its grip, hunting down rebel sympathizers, including the spy. Then we come to the learning information, the Act 2. The protagonist uncovers a critical weakness in the Empire's defenses, perhaps a hidden alliance between the Empire and an external force, like mercenaries or dark magic or something like that. This information shifts the rebellion's strategy, but they still lack the means to exploit it. Then we move on to them gathering ingredients for victory. The rebellion scrambles to gain allies and resources and weapons for a final assault. Meanwhile, the Empire strengthens its defenses. For our first attempt at victory, the rebellion launches a daring strike, but this fails due to a betrayal from within. The Empire retaliates brutally. Then we reach the dark path of the soul. The rebellion is on its last legs. The protagonist is forced to make a desperate decision, deciding to infiltrate the Imperial capital for one last gamble. And our actual victory is then the protagonist executes the final plan, toppling the Empire. The war ends, but not without great sacrifice. Now, as I've said before, these tentpoles are very, very bare bones of the story, but it's enough to track our subplot. So let's define our story circle for our spy and god subplot. The god is a loyal soldier of the Empire, but kind-hearted and beginning to doubt its methods. The spy is devoted to the rebellion and sees the Empire as irredeemable. They live in opposite worlds with no real connection yet. The spy must infiltrate the Imperial stronghold to gather intelligence. The guard is assigned to patrol the stronghold, unknowingly setting guard and spy on a collision course. When they first cross paths, there's an instant tension, but the spy helps the guard by covering for him when a superior accuses him of dereliction of duty. Neither trusts the other, but there's something, a flicker of some deeper emotion. They encounter each other a few more times as the spy goes about her business. Go, entering the unfamiliar situation. The spy's cover is broken, and the guard is ordered to capture her. Instead of turning the spy in, the guard hesitates, letting her escape. The guard has now crossed a line, stepping into dangerous emotional and political territory, taking us to search, struggle, and adaptation. The spy learns of the Empire's darkest secret and is tasked with convincing the guard to switch sides. The guard struggles with loyalty, torn between duty, doubt, and the growing connection with the spy. There are secret meetings, close calls, and increasing tension between the two characters, taking us to find they get what they wanted, but at a cost. The guard makes a personal sacrifice and defects. Their relationship is finally solidified, but at a cost. The guard is branded a traitor and hunted by his former allies. And the rebellion doesn't fully trust the guard either. The guard and the spy are together, but their future is extremely uncertain, taking us to pay the price for change. During the first attempt at victory, the spy and the guard are separated. The guard is suspected of treachery by the rebellion and is facing execution. The spy, torn between love and loyalty, isn't sure whether to trust the guard. How well does she know him after all? Which brings us to return. The real traitor is found, but the damage has already been done to our subplot relationship. Even though the spy and the guard are reunited, doubt lingers. Can their relationship recover? The guard is no longer the same person who blindly served the empire, and the spy has learned the cost of mistrust, taking us to change, resolution and transformation. In the final battle, the guard and the spy save each other's lives, proving their bond is stronger than past betrayals. Or, if you want a bittersweet ending, their relationship is too damaged to survive. Even though they fought side by side, the scars remain and they separate. Either way, they are forever changed by their love and the choices they made. The love story isn't just a side note. It reflects the larger conflict of loyalty versus freedom that is told by the rebellion's tale. The romance helps shape major turning points, the guard's defection, the spy's sacrifices, and contributes to the plot overcome. It provides high emotional stakes beyond just the war. This isn't about the rebellion, it's about what and who is worth fighting for. And of course, it builds out both characters. Did you spot the other subplot? I'll give you a moment to write in the comments what you think the other subplot are. Are you ready? Okay? The other subplot is the traitor. The actual traitor who betrayed the rebellion. Who are they? How does their story circle go? Planning your villains using the story circle will massively increase their impact on the story, as it will ensure they don't go through a flat arc all the time. Remember, a story circle just drives character change. It's not just for good guys, it's not just for heroes, and it doesn't always end well for the character. What's the most compelling subplot you've ever come across, either in a book you've read or a story you've written? Drop it down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my plot outlining technique. A very big thank you to all the members of my channel who help ensure that my cats get food every month and keep me making more and better videos. Join them for the price of a cup of coffee a month and get all of these cool perks. And I will see you soon for another episode of Just-in-Time World Building, where we build what we need when we need it. Why do I only get these clever ideas for the costumes after I've started shooting? Seriously.